Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 7 of the anime series, Amaama to Inazuma, which once again began with this just adorable quality, and that's going to be the go-to term I use anytime dealing with Tsumugi and this series. We basically have her going out on an adventure at the start of this episode because her father Kohei is sick in bed. He has a high fever, or at least a medium, level fever, enough to knock him out and keep him in bed. This coming after, a couple of fellow parents are basically asking him in a park, how is he managing? How is he keeping up? He doesn't get much sleep. He's got to make food for Tsumugi and get her to school. He's got his job and all this kind of stuff. And isn't it taxing? And obviously this is all of that, basically catching up with him, finally, keeping him in bed, keeping him feeling really ill. And it's just absolutely adorable that Tsumugi does not want to even leave his side. She wants to stay by his bedside. And he's like, go in the living room, watch TV, do whatever. And then she goes down to the foot of the bed and finally, begrudgingly, after he, tells her there's jelly in the fridge and she finds out, no, actually there isn't, does she go and she starts watching her favorite series, Magic Girl, and all this kind of stuff. But this, this worry that she has, she begins to really feel like she needs something to help the situation. She wants to do something to help her daddy. And it's adorable seeing her getting all packed and everything. She takes her little stuffed piggy animal from the Magic Girl. She takes her DVD. She gets her hat on. And this is all the important stuff for her. So this is what she's leaving with. And she actually gets a little step stool thing, to get the door open, the front door. And she leaves. And it's just, heartwarming, and I was ear to ear grinning listening to her sing this song about sharks and avoid the sharks, and she's walking down the painted white line on, the boulevard or the back alleys or wherever she happens to be walking. She runs into a couple of women who help her across, this one particular street where she's like envisioning the actual ocean and all these sharks ready to pounce on her and ready to gobble her up and all this stuff. And they swing her across, and she loves it. And then at one point, she looks up, and she thinks she sees a pterodactyl. It's actually a plane, really playing into the imagination of this young child. It was absolutely adorable. And then she's, like, getting all sort of molested by a guy's dog and everything. And I was wondering where the hell she was actually going. I love the one part where she's like standing in front of the vending machine because she's so thirsty. She's now singing about how hot a day it is, how she hears cicadas and all this kind of stuff. And of course, she can't get any drinks. So she just, all right, well, I'm on my way. She goes back to her little journey and she's making her way to Kotori's restaurant. When she gets there, I was actually really fearful that maybe Kotori wouldn't be there because the door was locked and, could she have been out? Could she have been in school? Like, was this a weekday? Or, it apparently wasn't because she was actually home. She's going to take her only so far of the way back home with some medicine, with some, like a can of peaches for Kohei, and some water and all this kind of stuff to try to help him feel better. And, of course, Kohei has woken up by this time. He's a parent, a single parent, absolutely freaking out beyond all reproach. Now I'm somebody who took guardianship of my little sister after we lost our parents. And I can tell you, becoming a surrogate parent, basically to your little sibling, it is insane if, like, she's not home on time after school or she's out too long after dark. Or I know exactly what Kohei was going through. And I mean, it drives you mental. You start, thinking all the worst possible things could have happened and hopefully not, but you're in panic mode. And this is what Kohei is going through. And luckily, Kotori and Tsumugi run into him. But his first reaction probably isn't the best one, even though he couldn't contain himself. He starts yelling at Tsumugi, and Tsumugi is feeling proud of herself because she wanted to take care of Daddy and she did something to help him. And so she breaks down crying. She loses it. He's losing it. It's all kinds of losses between the both of them. And Kotori really ramps herself up as sort of the hero or the heroine of this episode, I think. And like, she really stood out to me in her own heartwarming, qualities in basically trying to calm Kohei down and tell him this, she was trying to help. And let's, go back to the restaurant and, calm down. You shouldn't be yelling at each other. You shouldn't be fighting. don't force her to go home if she doesn't want to go home, you know, and just kind of sits them down in their little back room, and they're silent. They're not really acknowledging each other. Samugi's on the verge of tears. Kohei's just exacerbated. But they make amends. They make up. You know, daddy and daughter, father and daughter make up. And it's beautiful because they both care so much about each other. Samugi is a little girl. She's a little child, and there's only so much she can do, but she tried her damnedest to do something for her daddy, to make up for all the things he does for her. And by the end, of course, you have Kotori being like, well, let me make some rice, and this will put the cap on the bottle. This will make them really happy, and they'll make up even better, and they'll feel better, and everything will be happy again. Only she burns the rice because she's more concerned with listening in on them making up and all this kind of stuff. But they're not out for the count yet, because she has this idea to make this kind of, you know, stick treat basically with the rice. It kind of reminded me of like a caramel apple, only you're using rice that has gotten a little hard and you mash it up, as we see, and they made a sauce to put over it, like a sweet tasting sauce, I can only imagine. And it sounded tasty. And of course, you know, when they're done doing this, they all get involved cooking once again. The happiness flows, you know, the heartwarming nature flows once again. And they make this treat. They sit down, they consume it after they grill it kind of on, you know, the stovetop. And everything was happy by the end again. And it was all because of Kotori and her influence. And it was really kind of the first time I began to look at her as almost being motherly. Like, she's just been a companion. She's just been a friend up until now. But I almost feel like this was the closest we've seen her get to being sort of a surrogate mother for Samugi. And, you know, I mean, there's been a lot of debate about whether there is a romantic interest between, you know, Kotori and Kohei. Mostly her for him, that kind of situation. She, as of last episode, was kind of trying to evaluate how she feels about it. And I would not be entirely disappointed to see, you know, them pointing the story in that direction, if it feels natural and it feels right and they do it right. Of course, it's not something I really need personally, but this was, again, the closest I have felt like Kotori was not just the heroine, was not just a good friend. She was almost, you know, matronly between the both of them. And she was integral into getting them feeling better about the situation again and just feeling better overall. And that's what friendship should be. That's the kind of friendship I would love to have with anybody, you know. Somebody who you can actually trust to be there for you, or your you know, in my case, my sibling, my sister, or if I had a child, you know, somebody who would be able to be there and be concerned and care about the situation and wouldn't feel put upon or, you know, whatever like that, if their assistance was needed. I mean, Kotori just really best girl this episode, you know. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 7 of Amaama to Inazuma, if you've seen it as well. If you were mouth-watering at that treat they made by the end. Again, this sort of like, it looks almost like an ice pop on, you know, what I can only assume were chopsticks. And but it's, again, it kind of reminded me of like a caramel apple in the fact that it's not like a frozen treat, that kind of thing. And they seemed to really enjoy it, and it really made me curious to taste it myself, you know. So yeah, love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Just love having that conversation. And otherwise, I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.